Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio by our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
Hello, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Greetings, programs.
This is the show where we talk about movies and movie news, TV, and streaming. Gosh darn it, we're the best in the world at doing it. Listen, today's going to be a short show. We're going to be under an hour today. Which is not normal. As you guys know, I've been having to take some meetings. I'll fill you guys in more on what all these meetings are about, but I do have another one today that I need to get to. And so today's going to be a bit of a shorter show. So hang tight, but we'll be right back to normal tomorrow. So let's not waste any time, shall we? And get right into it. And we're going to start off with this. You know, with Avengers Doomsday coming out, I don't know if you noticed, Rob, there's a few people in it.
Really?
Yeah. You got a couple of people.
Do we know who the Avengers actually are this time?
I don't know. Not yet. We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there. But, I mean, if we go over and take a look at this list, these are the people that we know are in the movie. Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Eben Moss Bacharach, Sebastian Stan, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Wyatt Russell, Hannah John Kamen, Louis Pullman, Anthony Mackie, Chris Hemsworth, Letitia Wright, Paul Rudd, Simu Liu, Tom Hiddleston, Winston Duke, Danny Ramirez, Tino Carrera, Chris Evans, Benedict Cumberbatch, Haley Atwell, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, James Marsden, Kelsey Grammer, Channing Tatum. And those are just the ones we know.
That is a hell of a payroll.
That's a lot of money right there. But it's also a lot of people. And one of the, questions and concerns people have had, understandably so, about the upcoming Avengers Doomsday is that there's so many people, it's just going to be a lot of cameos. Just going to be a lot of people sticking their head in for a second and then they're gone. They're not really going to have much to do. Well, one of the stars of the film, the aforementioned Louis Pullman, who plays Sentry, he was interviewed recently, and he's kind of saying, it's not a cameo fest. Everybody in this movie has a significant moment. He
certainly does.
Well, we know he does. So let's get over here and read some of this. In a new interview with Esquire, Sentry actor Louis Pullman gave a new update on the Phase 6 team-up film and its handling of cameos, both known to the public and yet to be revealed. The star shared, "It's going back to the serum of the human archetypes that our art is built off of." Well, that means nothing. So, but what else is he going to say? He goes on to say things like, while the Avengers Doomsday cast is packed with characters, Pullman stressed that the upcoming Marvel entry will not just be a cameo fest, saying, every character has their moment that builds the dimensions of them. He continued, the Russo brothers did that so well, they do not want anyone just sitting in the background. I think, if we go back a bunch of years, and it's hard to think about this now, but I remember when Joss Whedon's first Avengers film came out. I still think the best comic book movie ever made, when you look at the importance of it and what it did. But regardless of whether you agree with that or not, I remember when that movie was coming out, everybody was freaking out. You can't possibly do a balanced movie with Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Loki's going to be in there, Nick Fury's in there. You've got these guys. Like, you can't possibly. And yet somehow Joss Whedon basically created, the Marvel Cinematic Universe had already been around, but with Avengers, Joss Whedon basically established the identity of the MCU and how they could handle multiple characters and how everybody had their moment. Now, then the questions came back up again with movies like Infinity War and Endgame, and now, of course, they're back, understandably so, because that list of characters we just went down, unprecedented. But Rob, when I was going through the Avengers Doomsday stuff, one of the things that stood out to me is nobody's there just to be there. Like, everybody who was there that I'm aware of were all there for a reason. Their presence was important because of this, or they performed an action that ended up being consequential. There really were no wallflowers. Just there's like, hi, everybody. Remember me from that other Marvel movie? I didn't really sense any of that. Now, whether or not that translates into the movie or not is another question altogether. But Lewis Pullman is saying, everybody who's here, every one of these characters has at least one significant moment in it. And if the Russo brothers can build on that template that Joss Whedon set so many years ago now, that's going to be quite a feat if they can do it, because this is a hell of a lot of characters. So, Rob, you read these comments that Lewis Pullman is mentioning. Do you think he's right? Does that kind of resonate with the stuff that you know? I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I think he's totally right. I mean, one of the things that's kind of, I think, frustrating about all of these leaks about what Avengers Doomsday is actually about is they're describing a bunch of plot, but what's completely missing from all these plot leaks is all the character stuff that's in the movie. Like, if you were to take the plot of Infinity War and just lay it out like, well, Thor goes and Rocket goes to, the Forge, and they meet a guy to make Stormbreaker, whatever. They have to turn on a star. I mean, it would sound a little goofy. And I think that the key to all 4 previous Avengers movies, yeah, they've got great stuff happening, but it's all the character stuff. What makes the movies really fun to watch is watching these characters relate to one another. Like that scene when Captain America is talking to the veterans. It's just a little scene, but it's such a great moment in the film. But if anybody was talking about the plot of Avengers Infinity War, or that's actually an Endgame, nobody would talk about that. It would not show up in a plot synopsis. And like the scene where Captain America sits down with Black Widow, and they have a conversation, and she sits down and he sits down with her and talks about Wales.
Such a great scene.
Totally a great scene. And that's what makes those movies so great. So, you can know what machinations are happening, but you don't really get a sense of how resonant these movies really are for audiences, or why people go, or why they've been so successful. And I think that's what's really been, I mean, if you read these plot outlines and all these spoiler leaks, they don't get into any of that. Like, they couldn't tell you what all these characters are actually doing. I mean, they kind of made mistakes anyway about who's doing what. And I think one of the great things about this film is all the character interplay. That's what makes it worth. And there's a lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff, I think, that people are really going to. I know I can see people going, "Hey, Robert, that's just a Marvel shield." No, but I mean, I love the Avengers movies, and I am really excited for this one. And part of the reason is because I love seeing these characters interact with one another. They're great to watch. And I think what Pullman is saying is absolutely spot on. I mean, like I've always said, in Age of Ultron, I would watch a whole movie at that party. They got the scene when everyone's trying to pick it. I mean, if you made My Dinner with the Avengers and they were just sitting around
on that one after party
and make a 2-hour, it's just that party for 2 hours.
Can you imagine like a Clue adaptation? And they're at a party and it's a murder mystery?
I mean, I would totally watch that because those actors are so great. And that they probably do a lot of improv, or they because those movies are very iterative. Even from the first Iron Man, they were rewriting scenes the day of. So I'm sure that there is some amazing. They probably have enormous amounts of ad-libbing or riffing. Sure, they got a script, but when those actors get together, they know their characters so well that I'm sure they've come up with some gold. And I would watch, if nothing happened in this movie, but these characters just sat around and talked, I'd watch it.
Well, somebody in the live chat just mentioned something that reminds me of something I said before, which is this. The airport scene in Civil War, Thor arriving in Wakanda in Infinity War, Shang-Chi on the bus scene. These things make Marvel movies fun. The conversation between Natasha and Steve in the Avengers headquarters, the conversation between Rocket and Thor on the ship, the conversation, the heart-to-heart that happens in the first Ant-Man between Scott and his daughter. Those other things make the Marvel movies fun. But these things are what make Marvel movies great.
Yeah.
When they're done right. and when they are fused in together well. And if Lewis Pullman is right and says everybody's got a moment in these things, and every character can bring the weight of who they are to the movie, we could be in for something really special. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I know a lot of people are worried, understandably so, when you look at that cast list, that, Avengers Doomsday could just be a big cameo orgy. But Lewis Pullman is saying, no, you're going to see that everybody is used really well. We'll have to wait and see. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.
I'd watch a cameo orgy.
All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? That Super Mario Brothers movie came out, and while it did not achieve what I predicted it would, which was to be the #1 film of the year, and it ended up being #2, only behind Barbie, made over $1.3 billion at the box office. And now we've got the sequel coming. The newest trailer just dropped yesterday, which I gotta say was their best trailer yet. I mean, that looked pretty fun.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily think Mario, this one, will make, over $1 billion. I do think it's going to be a massive, massive hit. But the latest box office tracking suggests I might be wrong. Because if you remember correctly, Super Mario Brothers, the first one, opened $146 million. Well, Box Office Pro is now forecasting that this one is going to open between 150 at the low end and 160 million in its opening weekend.
Bruh.
Which would make it a bigger opening than the Mario Brothers movie that went on to make $1.3 billion. And if you want to put this in context of this year, the biggest opening weekend this year so far has been Scream 7. Good for it, by the way. Worst movie ever made, but I mean, good. I love seeing success. $64 million. Hoppers was the second biggest opening. Way overperformed for what a lot of people thought it was going to do, made $46 million. Wuthering Heights overperformed, made $32 million. That animated film Goat did pretty well for itself, opening with 26, and Send Help, which is one of my favorite movies of the year right now.
Oh, for sure.
Send Help is still one of my, it's very, very early in the year, but it's in my top 3, I think, favorite movies of this year so far. But to put that in context, Scream is the current highest grossing opening weekend. Look at the numbers for Mario. Now, I just rounded it down to 150 million. Like I said, they said it could go up to 160 million. And who knows, if positive word of mouth comes out, it could even go north of that. But it would easily be the biggest opening of the year so far, by almost by a factor of 3. It would outperform the opening numbers of the first Mario Brothers movie. And I got to tell you, Rob, while I don't think the marketing campaign for Super Mario Brothers Galaxy has been the strongest, it's done a pretty good job of making it look like a fun movie. And I think, man, I might have to rethink my position that I don't believe it'll go over $1 billion. I might have to rethink that. Anyway, you're seeing these numbers. What's standing out to you?
Well, I mean, especially after watching the new trailer, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the film already delivered. You can't have, I don't think you can have something that's more beloved than the various Mario video games that we played over the years, going all the way back to Donkey Kong, Super Mario Kart, whatever. And I think that this is a multi-generational franchise that, as long as they keep cranking out great animated fare, that this is a powerhouse. This is right up there. So it doesn't surprise me at all that we've got these numbers. That I think this thing is going to be huge. Yeah. Now I want to go back. Look at this chart again. We talked a lot going into 2026 about, my goodness, 2026 looks like it's poised to be a big rebound year finally, like after the pandemic, the strikes, and all the aftermath living after it. That 2026 looks like it could be the year. It's going to be the biggest since 2019. Look at where we haven't even had any of the big movies open yet. Right.
We got Project Hail Mary coming. We got Super Mario Brothers coming, and we got 12 other big ones coming. But look at this list so far. Scream 7 overperformed. Hoppers overperformed where they were expecting it to be. Wuthering Heights overperformed. I mean, we are not into the big serious blockbusters of the year yet, but even a lot of these mid-sized movies have been doing better than expected numbers. And if Mario Brothers Galaxy can come out and open to 150, 155, 160 million, which would eclipse what the first one opened to, I mean, I think that all bodes very, very well for the rest of the year. Like, again, I'm not expecting Project Hail Mary to have a $100 million opening weekend. It should, but it's not going to. But I mean, we got a lot of movies coming out. And if these types of movies can overperform this time of year, I don't know, Rob, like I'm looking at these numbers and I'm feeling pretty bullish about the rest of the year. What about you?
Look, I am too, because people seem to be, I've been going to this one theater a lot, trying to hit a double feature every week. And I sense in the theater, there's a certain joie de vivre. It seems like audiences are excited. I mean, this is just me. I'm projecting. But it seems people are excited about the movies that they're going to. And, that audience I saw Hoppers with, and it was a later show, and it was pretty packed, and people clapped at the end. They were into it. They were happy to be there. And John, when people like one movie and they have a great experience, they want to go back and see others.
Yep.
And I think great movie-going fare feeds off of itself. And, Project Hail Mary, I think, is going to really kick off what people are getting. I mean, this is a big budget action adventure feel good movie of the year kind of a thing. I think it's going to have big word of mouth. I hope it has great legs. But I think people I think movies are back.
Well, I think we're going to find out a lot when Project Hail Mary comes out. And if Mario Brothers can actually pull off these numbers that they're being projected with. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you see the Super Mario Brothers Galaxy movie actually performing this big? Do you think it can ultimately pass the $1.3 billion that the last Mario Brothers movie did? Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Speaking of Project Hail Mary, I told the story yesterday that I talked to a friend of mine in one of the guilds who got to see an advanced screening of it. And he said, and remember, this is just one person's opinion, but he said it could be one of the best movies ever made.
Well, then it's the best movie ever made.
Could be one of the best movies ever made. That's what he said. Now, we got a lot of great positive first reactions. We talked about that about a week or two ago for Project Hail Mary. But what was the word going to be like when the actual full review embargo lifted? Well, today is that day. And according to this number, with almost 100 reviews already in, Project Hail Mary, now when we made the title, when we were writing up the titles for the show, was at 95%. It's gone up. As of this recording, whenever you watch it, maybe it's up another percent or two, maybe it's down a percent or two. But as of this recording, Project Hail Mary is 4 points away from perfect. Or at least a perfect Rotten Tomatoes score. It's got 96% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Let's go over and see what some of these critics are actually saying about it. Daily Express writes, the story is enthralling with well-developed, charming characters, laughs, tears, and wonder via spectacular cosmic visuals on the big screen, making this an epic return for blockbuster popcorn cinema. We Live Entertainment wrote, Project Hail Mary has plenty of movie to offer for audiences, and the only rocky thing about it would be not to take advantage of seeing such a film on the big screen. Empire Magazine loved it. They said, this is for the most part an absolute space smash. Stupidly entertaining stuff about seriously clever speculative concepts. Hail Mary. The Nerdist loved it. They said, it made me romantic about cinema for what's possible on those rare occasions when you sit down in a theater and everything hits you in a way you always hope for but never fully expect. That's awesome. The Associated Press liked it. They said Project Hail Mary might blow past a 2-hour runtime, and yet there's rarely a dull moment with all the problem-solving, earnest irreverence, and unabashed commitment to imbuing life and wit into every molecule of the story. Mama's Geeky loved it. They said a cinematic masterpiece. Ryan Gosling is transcendent, but Rocky stole my heart. I laughed, I cried, and my life is forever changed.
Wow.
There's something special about a movie. You say, my life is changed. You know, the only time I've ever really said that, I've only said that after 2 movies. I said that after Life is Beautiful, the Roberto Benigni masterpiece, and the documentary on Mr. Rogers. What was that one? Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was called Won't You Be My Neighbor or Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, but one of the 2 titles. But those are the only 2 that I walked out and go, I feel like my life has changed. Anyway, let's go on a few more. Den of Geek wrote, the creature is a visual coup of puppeteering and discrete digital add-ons for Lord and Miller, who create a Sheltie-sized sidekick. I hope I'm saying that right. It's dynamic with Grace provides a parable about the benefits of cooperation, triumphing cynical self-interest. The film verdict liked it. They said, like a box of ready-to-make macaroni and cheese, Project Hail Mary is satisfying, if not substantial. And that's the most critical thing I've read about it so far. And the less you think about the science behind it, the more you'll enjoy it. The Wrapped liked it. They said, watching Grace and Rocky talking science, doing science, and exploring the parallels between their culture evokes the very best parts of Star Trek.
Whoa!
I knew Rob would like that one. Anyway,
Bibiani.
it just goes on. On and on and on. Out of the almost 100, there were 3 negative ones out of almost 100. And most of the ones, you know, a lot of times we'll read like reviews and it'll be, hey, the people who liked it didn't love it, and the people who didn't like it didn't hate it. But these people love this movie. There's a few of them in there, like Alonzo is like, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. That's like the worst thing that I've read. Everything else is absolutely through the roof. And Rob, we get to see it in like 72 hours.
3 sleeps, John.
I am so ludicrously excited to finally sit down and watch this movie with a full theater in an IMAX screen. Because that's where we're seeing it, right? At the IMAX
in 15 perf 70 millimeter.
In the 70 millimeter IMAX screen, which I don't go to a lot of movies in the 70 millimeter IMAX screen, but we're going to go to see this one. And I'm just beyond myself. Rob, when you're hearing the reviews, what are the things that you're hearing that are common themes that are standing out to you? And where's your expectation level like for the movie right now?
Well, I think, you know, the thing that stood out to me in the novel, and I think that people really love, is that there is no cynicism or snark in this film. It is a truly joyous exploration of the human spirit and the fantasy. Look, I have always fantasized since I was a little kid about meeting an alien. I even treat my dogs. I think of my dogs as an alien life form, you know, that I get to somehow interact with and communicate with. And I think part of the reason when I was reading the book, I was so interested in it was because of the relationship between Grace and Rocky and how did that relationship unfold? And it's really interesting. And I think that obviously Ryan Gosling came on board this project from the very beginning. I don't know if he actually optioned the book first, but he's a producer on the movie.
Yeah.
So he obviously, I've never met Ryan Gosling, but every time I've ever seen him on a talk show or on Saturday Night Live, or he just seems like the kind of dude you'd want to hang out with. Like he's a really good dude. So it doesn't surprise.
Well, he's Canadian.
Right.
I mean, he's Canadian. There you go.
But I think that what he responded to in the book is, I think, what everybody responds to that loves this story, because it is an exploration and a celebration of what human beings are capable of under very difficult circumstances. And what I love about everybody involved in this film is they understood the assignment. Getting Drew Goddard to adapt the novel was a stroke of genius.
Because of the job he did on The Martian.
Yeah, and Lord and Miller, you know, coming off, I don't think they've made, it's been a while since they made a live action feature that actually got released. And I think they came in also with a total, because again, even watching that video where they go to all the theaters showing they're seeing Project Hail Mary in all the different formats. I'm like, again, those are dudes that I would want to hang out with, that understood the assignment, And I can only imagine getting them all together. And the guy that voices Rocky, that was performing him, that ended up doing the voice for the film as well. It just seems like this is one of those moments when all of the collaborators come together and they're all on the same page. And they knew what they needed to do. And everybody, Greg Fraser's cinematography, the production design, the visual effects. And when you have all these people working in tandem, and Hollywood does this better than anywhere else in the world. And when you have something like this and you have a company like Amazon behind them, you get gold. And I've been thinking about this story and seeing this movie since I've told you, I've said this a million times, that when I read the book, I said at CinemaCon last year, this movie is going to win Best Picture.
And
Now,
the earlier word seems to say that may not
I've
have
been saying
been
it
so
for a year.
far-fetched.
Been saying it for a year. And I mean, I haven't even seen it yet. So I fingers crossed. but my early assessment does not seem to be incorrect.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, it's one thing to have really good initial early out first reactions, but it's when the full reviews come out that gives you a broader picture. And they seem to be even more glowing than the initial reactions were. I already got my tickets for this Friday. Do you guys have your tickets yet? Whatever you guys think, jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do that, we have to do two things. First, we have to bid good afternoon to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend.
Thank you,
we
sir.
will talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, you will.
And we're also going to take a moment here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, March is a time when we celebrate the women in our lives and recognize everything they carry every single day. Women often take on a lot, and sometimes their own well-being gets pushed to the side. And it's a great reminder of how much women give to the people in their lives. So this month is a great time to pause and reflect on the roles that you carry and the pressures that can come with them. Therapy can be a helpful space to work through those challenges, create balances, and set healthy boundaries so you can take care of yourself too. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp connects people with licensed therapists who follow a strict code of conduct. With over 30,000 therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp has an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live sessions based on 1.7 million client reviews. They also match you with a therapist based on a short questionnaire, and if your first match isn't the right fit, you can switch to another from their recommendations. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's betterhelp.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that done, let's move on to your questions. Now, there's two different ways that we take questions here on the John Campea Show. First way is if you are able to watch the show live, your way of getting in a question is by using the Super Chat feature in the live chat. You guys were sending some in during the show. We have turned off the Super Chats now, but that's how you send in a question during the live show. If you are one of the 90% of people who watches this show later after it streams live, you obviously can't use the super chat feature, but you can use our tip link that you can find simply at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. So if you have a question for the show, but you can't be around here for when it's live to send it in, go ahead and use that tip link. And as long as your questions or topics are appropriate for our show, you'll see them read out on the next episode of the John Campea Show. All right, let's get things started with the tip link questions here, Jonathan, shall we? What do we got up first?
Larry Williams says, hey, John, have you ever read anything by J.N. Chaney? I've been listening to Backyard Starship and reading Renegade Star. Both are amazing series, and my dream is someday there'll be film adaptations for either or both of them.
I know of him. Like, I know he did, like, the Ruins of Earth storyline and Backyard Starship or something like that, like a series of books. Mm-hmm. I have never read any of them myself, though. I don't know. Are they all that popular? Like, I had a friend recommend them a few years ago. That's why I know about them, but I've never read them. So I don't know if they're popular enough to actually do. renditions of. By the way, X-Men superfan Emma Frost just sent in 10 John Campea Show gift memberships. Thank you, X-Men superfan. Appreciate that.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe one of these days I'll get around to reading one of them.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got let's see, we did Larry Williams, right? So Guy Mugrabi says Scream 7 was enjoyable.
It's so good that movies are subjective.
2026 is a horror year. I am most excited about Evil Dead Burn. Rise, quote unquote, was mind blowing. New Insidious, Flower Vale Street with Hathaway,
That
Clayface.
does look good. Yeah.
Cinema is back, baby. Every day is a celebration. What is your most anticipated horror?
Well, I am looking forward to that Anne Hathaway one, and I am very much looking forward to Clayface, which they are describing, even though it's a DC film, they're describing it as a body horror film. But I have to admit, I know it's on the lighter side, but I loved Now You See Me. So the sequel, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, I am actually very, very excited for. So I'm going to say Now You See Me, Now You Don't is my most anticipated horror film of this year.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave says, nice to see the tip link is open again. I was recently at the cinema watching the epic movie. My friend had a spare ticket, maybe wouldn't have gone otherwise. It's great. As a song and dance man, you should absolutely go see it. It was positively.
I have no idea what Epic
it's
is.
Baz Luhrmann's Elvis concert movie.
Yeah, the Elvis. Okay. Oh, I had no interest in that. I mean, I like the Elvis movie that he did, but I, you know, I'll be honest with you. I've seen posters for it. I don't even know what it is. Is it just like a documentary?
It's a concert movie, but
like
I think
a documentary concert film of the real Elvis?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I had no idea. All right, what's next?
We got Dallas Hawes. Lionsgate CEO confirmed in teleconference call last week that Michael is clearly a part one. It ends with the audience wanting more and to expect a sequel in fiscal year 28. What month do you think they will put out Michael 2? Favorite MJ video?
I honestly don't care. I have no idea what month they'll put it out. I mean, but look, we talked about a long time ago that they were splitting that movie into two. And they clearly did. Yeah. And it's probably the right move because I think the first one's going to make over $1 billion. And now you get to put it out twice. And you get $2 billion. Yeah. $2 billion films. This movie's going to be massive. As far as my favorite Michael Jackson video, it's not my overall favorite Michael Jackson song, but my favorite video of his is Black and White. That's I remember when Black and White came out, it's standard fare now. But when they did that visual effect, do you remember this, Jonathan? The visual effect of one person morphing into the next person, morphing into the next person. That was like cutting edge at the time. Sure. I mean, people can do that effect easily.
Yeah,
now,
and that looks like so dated now. But when we first saw it,
oh
it was
my
like,
God, when it was like revolutionary. All right, what's next?
$20 tip from Jay says,
oh, thank you, Jay, for supporting us on that level, man.
Hey, John, thanks for bringing the tips back. My question is, are Jean Grey's powers strong enough to reverse spells Strange? Strange's spell. Sorry, I read that backwards. And if Sadie Sink is playing a Jean in Brand New Day, is that possibly how Ned and MJ get their memories of Peter back?
Well, I mean, the problem is, by the way, first of all, somebody pointed out, it's not Now You See Me. That's obviously the Magician's movie. It was Ready or Not. That's the one I meant.
I felt like that was wrong. And I was
Now You See Me is the Magician one. Ready or Not, and then Ready or Not, Here I Come. That's one. So anyway, that's what I was talking about with the horror film. What was this question again? Oh, yeah, Jean Grey. Here, I'm going to guess no. The reason being is Jean Grey is not a magic-based character. The thing that made everybody forget Peter was a spell. It was an incantation. Jean Grey is not the Scarlet Witch. So my guess is for that spell to be broken, not that they need to break it, but for the spell to be broken, I think it's going to take either Doctor Strange or Wong or another magic-based character to do it. I don't think, a character based on telepathy and telekinesis will do it. So I'm going to say no, but that's just a guess. All right, what's next?
We got Montel who says, hi, John, moving to Canada next year. What's the best area you'd recommend for a newcomer to the Great White North?
Well, let's dude, I mean, you can fit 3 United States into Canada.
Somewhere around the Arctic Circle is really nice during the wintertime.
Yeah, listen, it's a big place, man. It's, look, I'm obviously going to say, because of personal bias, Southern Ontario. The Hamilton, Toronto area is absolutely Toronto's Look, I'm from Hamilton, which means you're supposed to hate Toronto because it's only 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
But as a Hamiltonian, which I think is the greatest city in the world, I got to say Toronto, for most people, would probably be the best city in the world, man. It's all the advantages of New York without all of the enormous disadvantages of New York. It's clean, comparatively no crime. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, like New York, it's also an expensive place to live. But you can't go wrong with Calgary. You can't go wrong with Vancouver or Victoria or Toronto or, Montreal or Quebec City. You go out further on the East Coast, Halifax, and, just take your pick, man. It all depends on what you do. You want to be near mountains? Do you want to be in a major city? Do you want to be near the coast and the ocean? I mean, you literally have everything going to Canada. So it really depends on what your personal preferences are. All right, what's next?
We got Aaron who says, or Aaron, as I like to say, as a YouTuber, how do you resist the urge to respond to frustrating comments? Not racist ones, but just really bad takes, objectively false claims, ones that clearly didn't watch the video or just are very stupid. Do they not get under your skin?
I mean, are they irritating? Yes, but I've been doing this long enough that they don't get under my skin. Like every once in a while, I will respond. Like I did this Spider-Man, the rights to Spider-Man editorial video, which, by the way, it's on the front page of the YouTube channel. Just go down to the playlist that's news and editorials and see the one we did for Spider-Man. And one of the things we cover is like, what about characters like Kingpin? And I was going through the comments and somebody's, well, what about characters like Kingpin? And I couldn't help but respond and go, I literally typed out, did you not watch the video? We literally covered that. So does it make me roll my eyes? Yes. Is it irritating? Yes. But does it get under my skin? I've been doing this way too long for it to get under my skin. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Dan the Fan. He says, I effing did it. John, I saw Shrinking, and by God, it is awesome. I also saw Pluribus, which is amazing. Apple is killing it. I also went to the Rose Bowl flea market and passed by the bench where Paul meets with Alice. I like the Rose Bowl flea market.
Oh, yeah. Ann and I, when we lived in Burbank, we would go to the Rose Bowl all the time. Sometimes we would take our bikes and bike the loops. Sometimes we would go and walk the loops and stuff like that. It's great. We were just at the USC's campus and everything. Yeah, guys, listen, I'm run out of words to use to try to convince you to try to watch Shrinking. I defy anybody to watch the first 5 episodes and be able to stop. I don't think you can. It's like eating salty chips, man. You can't eat just one. Like you watch 5 episodes and they're all short. They're short episodes. You watch 5 episodes Shrinking, you're not stopping. It's just that bloody good. I'm glad you topped on the train, man, and gave it a shot. All right, what's next?
Okay, here's our last of the tips. Andrea says, hi, John. They're showing a Lord of the Rings marathon in my local theater this week. Should I put myself through the 12-hour plus show this Saturday, or should I take my time with each one?
Well, I mean,
that's a lot of content.
12 hours is a long time, man.
And if you've never seen it before, that's a lot to remember, and you know what I mean?
Well, no, actually, I would say watching it back to back gives you an advantage. Because, like, literally, it just happened a few hours ago. I would say this. If they're scheduling in such a way that there's, like, at least an hour in between movies where you can stretch your legs, grab something to eat, relax a little bit, I'd say give the marathon a shot. Otherwise, you're perfectly good going film by film. All right, what we got up with the Super Chats?
Super Chats are next here. So we're going to start with Isaac. I watched The Mist for the first time. You guys were right. Just when you thought you reached max devastation, bam.
I'll tell you what, man. You will never hear me say that I think The Mist is like one of the greatest movies ever made. I don't. But one of the truly most memorable endings to a film ever. Like, I can almost remember nothing about the film itself, but I will never forget the ending. It is truly one of the most monumental, gut punch, emotionally deep, unforgettable endings to a movie ever. All right, what's next?
Christopher says, have you seen Amazon's Young Sherlock series? It's like a spiritual successor to the RDJ Sherlock Holmes movies, in part because Guy Ritchie developed it, produced it, and directed the first 2. I didn't know that. Directed the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, okay, straight up. I am not interested in that show.
My mind just went to like Young Indiana Jones, so I'm like,
Right.
whatever.
And in the last 24 hours, I have heard so many people raving about it.
Wow.
So I think watching a little bit of Young Sherlock Holmes is on my menu for tonight.
Yeah.
I think I might have to check it out. All right, what's next?
Josh Ward says, I think we're all sleeping on the new Exorcist cast. ScarJo, Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and John Leguizamo. Sasha Kaye, here's hoping it's good. Is it a remake or what is it?
I don't know how they're doing it. I think it's a remake.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how they're
Because
doing
that last sequel, no one really
it.
liked.
But listen, yeah, no, not really. But like the moment they cast Scarlett Johansson, we talked about it on the show. I mean, it made us all sit up and go, because ScarJo is still in that place in her career where she can do whatever she wants. She can literally take any movie role she wants.
And yet she chose Jurassic Park, whatever that is.
Well, it made her a lot of money.
Yeah, it did.
Made her a lot of money. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the cast, Chiwetel Ejiofor, once Timothy Chalamet and once Ralph Fiennes get their Oscars,
Oh, you think she's up?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Chiwetel. I thought, yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor will
Sure.
be the world's greatest the current best actor who doesn't have an Academy Award.
I can definitely
like
see
that's
that.
how much I think of that guy. I think he's that good. So yeah, you're right. It's an incredible cast.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We have Hank Pym. Wow, Hank Pym is here. I just saw Undertone last night. Oh, Rob was just talking about that.
Yeah.
I just saw Undertone last night. It's maybe the most unnerving horror movie I've ever seen. It was incredible, highly suggested in Dolby Digital.
I'll be honest, I didn't even realize it opened yet. But it's funny you mentioned it because, like, as Rob was leaving today, I'm like, "What are you up to tonight?" He's like, "I'm gonna go see that new movie Undertone, like the horror film." He's like, "Yeah." So I totally, it completely went under my radar that it was opening this weekend, but I want to check it out myself too. All right, what's next?
Guy Ritchie has directed 9 films and made 1 show since his first 20 years. Since Aladdin in 2019 to the end of 2026, he'll have directed 9 films and made 3 shows. Impressive.
I love Guy Ritchie. I mean, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is great, but Snatch is in my top 20 all-time favorite films. Like, I love it. And then I was scratching my head. I think Rock and Rolla and a lot of other things too, but as much as I like him, I was really scratching my head when they announced that he was going to direct the Aladdin live action movie. It's like, that's a really odd fit, but what a great job he did on that. That was so good. And I love his The Gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
And then they did the TV version of The Gentleman. I thought, well, that's lame, but the show's great. And so, yeah, man. And now he's got this In the Gray coming out. By the way, they showed us a presentation for In the Gray 2 years ago.
Yep.
2 years ago at CinemaCon, they were showing us stuff for In the Gray, and it's been delayed and delayed and delayed. And now it's finally coming out, and it looks like another banger.
All right.
All right, what's next?
We got Cowboy Cena. I'm a fan of Zack Snyder. I know his DC days are behind him, but do you think he's purposely posting DC content on his Instagram to make his fans pressure Paramount WB to bringing him back?
No.
And he's good friends with Gunn. He wouldn't do that.
Yeah. He's good friends with Gunn, but also on top of that, he knows. Listen, here's the truth. Warner Brothers gave the Snyder Bros what they wanted, right? They put up $70 million so Zack Snyder could make the Snyder Cut, which did not exist until Warner Brothers put up $70 million.
And literally had to shoot pickups and stuff.
They had with $70 million worth. And it cost them dearly. They never recouped that $70 million. Now, the result was a version of Justice League that is better than the theatrical version. But they thought by doing it, it would make the Snyder Bros happy and then they would enjoy it. Instead, it just cost them tens of millions of dollars in losses. And the Snyder Bros just turned on them even more. You gave them an inch and they wanted to take a mile. And instead of being grateful to Warner Brothers for putting up $70 million so Zack Snyder could actually make the Snyder Cut, instead of being grateful, they turned on Warner Brothers even more. Now restore the Snyderverse.
Yeah. Restore your
Like, no, and Zack Snyder knows this. Nobody's going to take any of them seriously again. They're never going to play that game again. So no, and Zack Snyder knows that. Listen, I've done things in the past, like whether it's like AMC Movie Talk, whatever, and I'll post things from AMC days and I'll post things from Collider days. It's like, these were days that I was proud of and these were good memories and whatever. So I don't see there being anything wrong with Zack Snyder, like, posting about that stuff. That was a huge, important moment of his life. That was a big project and highly recognizable things. And for him to continue just to post stuff about it, I don't see anything wrong with that. All right, what's next?
We got Mike Vetter, who says over under 20 minutes for the length of time Masters of the Universe will be on Earth.
Over. And that's fine if you're doing the right things while they're on Earth. But yeah, I think more than half the movie will be on Eternia, but I do think we're going to spend more than 20 minutes on Earth. And that's perfectly fine, depending on what they're doing on Earth. All right, what's next?
We got Tristan, who says, listening to the Project Hail Mary audiobook and surprised that they solved the... wait, I don't know if this is like spoiler.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
This is very, very early in the book.
Okay, solve the translation problems by chapter 12. Hopefully the film keeps the book's pacing.
I mean, they show that in the trailer to the movie, like
Yeah,
them
that's
actually having language. Yeah, listen, I was one of those people that when I saw the first presentation for Project Hail Mary at CinemaCon last year, I thought, wow, they're already revealing the alien. Isn't that like big spoilery? But then I got through the book and it's like, oh, that happens like really, really early. Like, this is foundational stuff about what the movie's about. So, but I was, there's no other way to do it. You can't progress. That movie can't happen until you get over the hurdle of Rocky and Grace working out how to communicate with each other, right? So that happening very, very, very early in the movie makes sense. All right, what's next?
Brandon Bowers says the first teaser for Force Awakens was out 13 months before the movie. Maybe first teaser for Starfighter will play before Mandalorian.
No, the movies have learned over the past 5 years that it's absolutely a waste of money and pointless to put out trailers and stuff like a year before the movie comes out. Now, there are very, very, very rare exceptions to that. Like even with Doomsday, they haven't even dropped the first official trailer yet. They just did these little teaser things. So no, it's just not the way it's done today. There's literally no reason to release a trailer a year before a movie comes out. There's just no purpose for it. It doesn't do anything. It's just a waste of money and effort and audience goodwill. So no, I don't think they're going to do that. All right, what's next?
Brandon is back and says, did you end up buying tickets for One Piece?
I did not. Totally forgot about it. I was interested in it because I really like season 1 of One Piece, but I didn't end up getting tickets for it. I totally should have.
We got X-Men Superfan with a two-parter. I have a Batman question. So fridging is when a character dies to motivate another, and haunting the narrative is when a character's absence looms over the character. So what are Thomas and Martha Wayne? Are they fridged or are they the haunting narrative?
No, they're hauntings. They're hauntings. I mean, because when you always look at how Bruce interacts with those memories and that trauma, it's never about, when you look at Batman Begins, it's fridging. But for the most part, for the most of the times and the most of the iterations with Batman, it's really more haunting than anything else. So I would say it would probably go that way. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Murray Reich says, saw Hoppers, charming, funny, at times doesn't feel like Pixar, but the emotional moments make it feel like it, make it feel like it. Good message, recommend it.
Again, I like the way somebody put it yesterday with Hoppers, which reflect my feelings on it exactly, which was a solidly mid-tier Pixar film. And mid-tier for Pixar is a good place to be. It's not top-tier Pixar, it's mid-tier, but everything that's in mid-tier Pixar is still very good. And that's how I would rate Hoppers. And you're right, the message is fantastic. It's charming. It's funnier than I thought it would be. And it was a big step up from Elio. Let's just say that. It was a big step up from Elio.
I had high hopes for Elio.
Oh, Elio disappointed me so much.
The final 5 here. So Patrick Larson, this week I made a second Instagram account for reviewing movies. Any tips for that?
I don't do movie stuff on Instagram.
I would just say be honest and be consistent.
Yeah, super short form content to me is not my sort of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've put out some shorts, but I've put out some shorts before that are just clips of a longer conversation. So I don't really put a lot of effort. And so you would be the one to have to give me tips on that because I don't really engage. I mostly use Instagram 90% of the time just as a person. I just use it as my personal social media like that. I don't really use Instagram or Facebook to really promote the channel too much. I should do a little bit more of it. Like I do a little bit, but I usually just use Facebook and Instagram just as my personal social media to share thoughts and pictures and whatever. So yeah. All right. What's next?
X-Men super fan Emma Frost says, do you think Rebecca Romaine is not enough praise for her mystique? She had this eye and body language acting rather than lines, but she did very well. But people tend to remember Lawrence. Probably because it was more lately, but I think a lot of people remember Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I love Rebecca Romaine. I love her in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. But you remember Jennifer Lawrence more because she had much more to do. She had a much more fleshed out character, a much more used character. I mean, Rebecca Romaine really doesn't even, if you look at all the X-Men films she's in, she doesn't have a lot of dialogue. I think Jennifer Lawrence had more dialogue in half of one movie than all of Rebecca's. And that's not Rebecca's. So that's just the script. That's what was given to her. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's completely understandable that more people will think of Jennifer Lawrence because that was actually a lead character she was given. Whereas the character that Rebecca had to manifest and employ was at best a background character. And so that's probably why people think of it in those terms. All right, what's next?
Garrett says, hey, John, do you think that if Supergirl, Lanterns, and Man of Tomorrow aren't considered successful by the studio, they'll change direction or reboot?
No.
No, I don't think they would reboot.
No. Listen, Superman, which had no business actually making money. Like, I never would have believed that Superman can make $600 million when you consider all the baggage that came along with it, with the complete utter failure of the DCEU and how many times they rebooted Superman already. And, you know, there was like the entire audience had already abandoned DC as a brand and all that kind of stuff. And that movie ended up being profitable and making money, which is insane. Made over 600 million, which I didn't really think it would. I thought 600 would be the ceiling of what it could do. So they've already launched strong. If the next two don't go so well, they're not going to be overly reactionary like the AT&T Warner Brothers was. They're going to keep moving ahead. They believe in the direction they're going in. Now, if they do 3 or 4 things, like let's say Lantern sucks, which is going to be awesome. Clayface sucks. Supergirl sucks. And you have all 4 of those things sucking. Maybe then you have to start having some conversations, but 2 things going wrong? No, you don't change directions, especially when you already started off on a strong foot with Superman and Peacemaker and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, here's our last one. Connell says, hey, John, I'm going to watch Project Hail Mary in a Dolby Cinema on the 20th. I'll be there on the 19th. This will be my first time going to Dolby Cinema. So excited.
You should be. It's a terrific viewing experience. I particularly love the AMC Dolby Prime because with it being a Dolby Cinema with the dual laser projection system and their surround sound and all that kind of stuff, it also has AMC's motorized leather recliners, which I absolutely love those things. So the AMC Prime Theater Dolby theaters are my absolute favorite. I think you're going to really enjoy your time.
I think my first movie in a Dolby Cinema was Fury Road.
I can't remember what mine was. And I remember being very excited about going to it. But anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions via the tip link or super chats. Number 1, because you gave us fun, interesting things to talk about. But number 2, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again for tomorrow's show as well. Big thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, to our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.